Welcome back everybody to another episode of Design with Diego. And today we're actually going to be designing a real website for Mimi's Munchies. Mimi is going to be entering into the HEB Quest for the Best, I think is what it's called. Today we're going to design a pretty sick website for her. Appreciate you, and let's get to it. All right, so for the beginning of this, how I began this website design is I went ahead and I went to HEB and I went and just looked at some of the competition, some of the competitors and what they're doing on their websites, how they're laying it out, what colors they're using, and just the overall creativity and you know, is it more creative and fun, or is it a little more corporate feel, which of course I knew kind of going into this that it was going to be more of that fun, you know, brand imaging kind of website build. And then as you can see me here, I go over to Dribbble and start looking at some different types of inspiration, and I look over a bunch of different just websites and platforms and how they use different colors, how they have different layouts and all that good stuff. And then we move into the actual wireframing process where I lay out a grid. I always like to start out with a grid just to make sure I keep everything aligned. So I used to use like a 12-column grid usually. So you can see me popping that in there. And then from here, we just get to the actual design process. So I'm just laying out the columns, and then I start laying out the navigation. So I usually like to start with the nav, get that laid out. It just leaves me with a good starting point. So I'm putting in the logo. I like to set up one row, that way I know kind of where to start the nav, like, you know, how far down the actual nav should start from the top of the website or top of the page. Putting in a shop button, that's kind of where I made the little menu there. You see me, I'm putting it up there. I like to just use the auto layout and then use auto layout on the frame. And that's the way I like to lay out my buttons. It's a lot easier, especially whenever you're developing in Framer, because then you can just use the plugin that I showed off the other day and just copy and paste it into Framer with everything kind of already set up. You just have to make some minor adjustments. And then we're laying out the hero section, and then we'll move into the next steps. So you see me adding in another section here, and I actually end up using this as kind of like our about section. And the way that I like to ensure that all of our headers are properly sized, as you can see kind of what I did here, I took the title from the Mimi's Munchies from the product, and I pretty much added 16 pixels to it. And in Figma, you can literally just type in, you know, let's say you have 24 plus 16, it'll just do, you can just type in the whole equation and it'll do the math for you. And so that's what I did in order to get the proper size for the header. And then I'm putting in this last section here, but we are finishing up the website. And at this point, you can see it's coming out pretty good. With the text, I honestly just had ChatGPT come up with some clever text to put in. And it wasn't the best. We ended up actually changing it later on. Let me get it pulled up here. So we changed it to so we ended up getting it changed to rediscover the flavor of home and crunch the bold taste of Mimi's Munchies. So we ended up changing that just because it didn't really make sense. But for the design, it was fine. It's pretty much just like a proof of concept. And then we're putting in the absolute positioned elements up there, like we're putting in all of the trail mix and got that put in. And we ended up just absolutely positioning everything. And so that way it kind of moves with whenever it gets resized. And then you can see me here putting in the actual bags. I had to ensure that those pieces didn't like overlap any buttons or anything whenever it is resized. And I just did that by adding in special breakpoints, so that way you could actually, it actually responded responsively, basically. And here I'm laying out the different backgrounds. So as you see, I have this gradient, which we started with. We ended up just trading it out for an image and actually a video. So that way it was just a little bit more interactive. So after I finished the splash page, I went and moved on to the menu. So we went with the collapsible menu for the entire website, desktop and mobile. So that's what you see me designing here, and that is how we will finish off the website. Well, we'll actually do a mobile design first, and then we'll finish it. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Alrighty, and we're all finished up. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video of Design with Diego whenever we designed Mimi's Munchies. It was a pretty fun challenge. I think, having the design that we had made that first time that you saw in the video of the before and the after. If not, I'll pop them up aside. But you can go ahead and go check it out right now at mimismunchies.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and look out for new videos every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central, which is Texas time. Yeah. Anyways, we'll see you later.